Recording. All right, guys. All right, so one of the Vicenza podcasts. You guys are appreciated for joining, and Goldsteins galore. I didn't just get one; I got three. So thank you for joining and making the time. Let's just go ahead and jump. How many years are we spanning here? When did we start? When did we end?
We arrived at Goldstein's 82. So for me, it was 5th grade, Miss Benanti's class. And then all the way, Dad retired in 94. So you're looking 82 to 94.
Wow. I was there 82 to 97 when I graduated.
97? Dad doesn't even know when he graduated.
He's still there. He's still there.
I don't got him.
87.
All the alcohol is in the top part anyway. We know that.
Apparently.
Anyway, okay, so it looks like we're going to have a cat show on top of things, which is great. I think maybe one or two, we only have two, but maybe one or two will show up or they'll want my attention. But anyway, so, all right.
No, we don't got it.
Geez, let's just jump in and start with when was the last time you guys went to Vicenza?
Vicenza. Now I was there. We were all there in 2007 for that 50th year thing.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah. How come you weren't there?
You know, I didn't want to be with you guys. That's all.
Yeah.
It was an awesome time.
Yeah, it looked like fun, and you had pretty much the whole crew, right? Sam Adams. I can't think of everybody at the table. I just remember some of the
Steffo
pictures.
was there.
Steffo, yes.
Tilseth.
The Brown sisters. So we had a
Paul Childs, let's not forget. So many teachers there too.
That's awesome.
But JD's back there regularly.
Yeah, I was back in November. I get Milan layovers with FedEx, who I fly for. So if I have more than a couple days in Milan, I'm usually dropping my bags in my room and at the layover hotel in Milan, and I'm on a train to Vicenza, and I'm there an hour and 40 minutes later.
So I'll put my jealousy out there already, but I'll share some background on that story. For those who don't know, Jonathan, he's been a pilot fanatic since he was born. Is that when it started?
Yeah, pretty much since I can remember.
Were you born in the air? Is that what happened? I don't know.
I don't think so. Maybe conceived in the air, but my parents probably won't admit it.
So, and for people out there watching, Jonathan and I played soccer together. We were defense for Vicenza. We were awesome. I mean, one of the stats to speak of, I remember we would have like 100 shots on their goal and they'd have 2. And the score would be 1-2, and we won, and that was it. But when we went to Aviano, and the point connecting to flights and planes was we'd end up playing on like the airport. Like we're literally right next to, you'll probably remember the category of flights, which planes flew in. But I remember from a game competitive perspective, I'd look to you, and I don't remember if you were on the left side or the right side on defense with me, but it was like, it was, I don't think it was me that caught this. It was Sam Adams. He's like,
Sam Adams.
He's like, stop looking at the fucking planes.
Right.
Which is great. But what I love about that is that I'll never forget that memory. And it was truly great to see that you took that all the way through. I mean, from there, you went off to college. I remember you, training, trying to be, because you had a goal in mind and you stuck to it and you've been a part of it. And I appreciate when you share on Facebook your adventures, your plans, which again, I don't have all the terminology to speak to it. And I see your brothers are turning out. And they're like, dude,
you're doing
about
fine.
this.
You're doing fine.
But anyway, no, that it's great to see that. And I just wanted to bring up that soccer memory because it was a good one. We played, and sorry to kind of skip on that, but we could try to come back to the soccer topic, and maybe that brings in Steffo and Sam in a conversation, especially that game we played against Malapo and the other guy, and we had, I think it was, what's his name? Patrick McDonald was our goalie. Remember the game with the McKays, and we had him crushed for most of the game, but we knew that they were better than us. And then they go off and pull off like a scissors kick.
Yeah,
Amazing.
That was OSR.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
it was,
yeah.
yeah. Some guy bicycle kicked like
That was
over the head.
that
So
was
we-
it was Tornavaca. Remember that guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no blame. There was no finger pointing. Everybody looked at that and went, "Well."
Yeah. But yeah, no, Patrick had the best answer as our goalie. He's like, he looks up at the corner. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, boy, that's it. It's over. But anyway, good memory back there. So anyway, let's go back into Vicenza lane here. Let's go back to, I don't know, concerts. Let's talk about, do you guys remember like your first concerts that you went to? You know what I mean? Rock
You're
concerts.
The Final Countdown.
Final Countdown.
Yeah.
Was that Europe?
You saw him the first time around.
The
Was it
first time
Padova?
around, yeah. I think it was in Padova.
Oh, geez.
I caught him 3 years later when they're already like on their way. Like,
I mean, we got some gems. Do you remember? Did you get? I mean, we got Pink Floyd in like Verona.
Pink Floyd, Verona, Metallica, and Padova. The start of their And Justice. My first concert ever. Are you kidding me? Sensational.
Who opened for Metallica?
Royal Air, yes, because I've even Googled it and you can't find them. An Italian rock band, heavy metal band, Royal Air Force. And I was with Bart and Hector, and I couldn't imagine that all these dregs of society. Like, Italy was a nice, beautiful place. I'm like, where did all this long-haired and jean jacket guys fill up?
Yeah. Where were they? Where did they come from? I remember it was a U2 concert. I don't remember which one. I think I remember Hank Draculich being there. I remember Pearl Jam opened up for U2. I mean, U2 and Pearl Jam together at a concert. You know, like how much is that ticket worth? You know, beyond that, remind me of this, okay? Weren't our parents a little more relaxed back then? I mean, wasn't it a little like you going to Verona, in other words, a town that's like an hour away by whatever means you're going to get on a train, and then you'll be
come
home
back at midnight. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
And they knew, they had to know that we were going to be drinking. I mean, they knew that we were going to be having beers, and yeah, I think it was a different world for sure.
yeah,
That was the
absolutely.
principal. That was the principal. And he would send, I would go to my, Dad would say, listen, your father's the principal. My only request is you're coming to school the next morning. I don't care
Nice.
how late you come in, what happened, you're in school the next morning because I'm the principal.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Went to Milan to see Ozzy and David Lee Roth. Man, it's
Oh.
crazy.
I know.
Seriously?
I saw. Did you guys go to the Motley Crue with Skid Row as the opening act?
I got that concert ticket.
Yeah.
That was
That was Milan. That was Milan. Sebastian Bach. Yeah. Girls, girls, girls.
Yeah, 18 in
bummed.
life. That's what I remember.
I was
He was
bummed.
so
I didn't go to
skinny.
Def Leppard in Florence. That's one of my biggest regrets.
Did you guys ever go to? Was it Monsters of Rock? It was always in Europe.
That was
or
up in
Germany.
Germany. Yeah.
Right?
I used to have envy for the people who come back with the T-shirt.
But I think
Yeah,
Jeffrey,
no.
Michael Jeffries, that crew, definitely
Yes.
got to see some. It was all about the concert shirt. You know, that was your badge of honor when you came back.
Yeah, I
And
think
your jeans jacket patch, right?
Yeah, that's
yes,
it.
yes. Didn't you have a jean jacket? Wasn't that you?
No, I got a.
What leather jacket?
No, I had. What did I have? I had one of those Benetton things for a while. No, but remember the First Division Air Force rock and roll show that was on Post?
With Santana and Cheap Trick?
Yeah. I don't know if that quite counts as a concert, but that was like that would have been like mid '80s at the.
That was a good one.
I think it was even earlier. I would have guessed like 83, 84, somewhere in there.
I was just in. I've just made contact with Joanna, and her mom used to put those concerts together. She was telling me like stories, like her mom would be like, "I'm busy with this, but you go to Venice with them for the day, okay, and keep them entertained, and then come back and they'll do their concerts and stuff." You're like, what? You're sending her off with a friggin' rock band?
Different time.
I mean, how lucky. I mean, how lucky to be able to do that. Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, he left commentary out there that was excellent. I mean, he'd gone to Venice. He's like, I remember reading this in books about, you know, the culture and the history, and it's really as I remember and see it. He just had a lot of respect and you know, obviously speaking English, but he didn't do any kind of Italian or Ich bin ein Berliner kind of thing. But you know, then he does his thing, and then he tapes himself up with duct tape, and then he goes out into the audience and all that good stuff. But back to this responsibility of our parents in allowing us to go. And we didn't have cell phones, so you couldn't track us. You couldn't reach us. It was one of those, you just let your kids go at like, what, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they'll call you when they get to the train station at 2 in the morning or something?
No, I know. And I've got a kid now, he's 15. It's like, I got to make sure I know where he's at. And, you know, it's crazy. Like the fact that they let us do as much as we got away with.
Holy shit.
Different time. And yeah, it for sure made it that much more special to be able to go out and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like that for kids that are over there today. If you know, are they under, you know, cell phone watch and you know, are they able to have the same kind of freedoms that we did? Are kids still going to Venice on a Saturday afternoon just to go, you know, do what kids in the States are doing in the 7-Eleven parking lot? We were doing it in Venice. We're doing the same stupid shit, but we're doing it in Venice.
Yeah. Yeah. So concerts. What was your favorite concert? What was the one that you remember the most, and why? Hopefully it's a positive response here.
I would have to say Metallica, just because it was my first concert. So your first of anything. So holy shit, this is Metallica. Probably their biggest album, and Justice, in Padova on the start of their world tour. The album hadn't even been released. Didn't even know the songs.
Nice.
Like, and how many people are in there? I just remember Bart with his Walkman, with his bootleg. They're not even saying Metallica right. They're saying Metallica, Metallica. And I like...
Was Bart wearing his perm at the time? Was he frizzy head?
Let's not make fun of that perm. He was definitely had skinny jeans on. Definitely probably some skinny jeans and some white high tops. But I think all of our hair was a little problematic back then.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Nothing's changed here. I mean, there's a couple of gray strands, but I put them in there to make you feel better, just for the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
You're doing good, Shawno. Yeah.
It's all there. I remember one of the reunions we had where someone's like, "You're still wearing the same hair?" I'm like, was I supposed to change? What, is there an age marker? What? Anyway. So, okay, Metallica. Jonathan, what was yours?
I got to go with Skip. I think going to Europe and seeing the Final Countdown was, you know, the first big concert that I went to. I mean, and it was like, I don't remember who opened for them. And the music was, you know, other than I think they had 2 songs, right? They had the Final Countdown and the Carrie song.
Yes.
Everybody had got their lighters out for that one. And then I think they opened with the Final Countdown, and then the encore was the Final Countdown again. It was like they played the same song twice.
I feel like I was there. I think I was there because that's feeling familiar.
Yeah. So it was
a good one.
Yeah, right on. And I think went to Verona for the Floyd concert, and it was at the Roman Arena there, and that was pretty bitchin'.
That was the best. I think Pink Floyd put on the best concerts. Some of the stuff you can see on YouTube now, but they had that like big obelisk disco ball that would open up. They had a particular.
No, they had some bed flying over us, and
the big pig or whatever, Dogs of War or whatever. And then, I mean, the aroma in the air, which was not legal in this, you know, not too long ago, but
is this code? Is this code, Sean?
Yeah. But yeah, that was, I mean, it's not like I grew up with Pink Floyd, you know, in the house or something, but
that was a tremendous show.
Yeah, good concert.
What about you, Sean? What was your favorite? You're going with Pink Floyd?
Yeah, I have to. I mean, nothing comes to mind like that one does that really sticks out. I never made Monsters of Rock. Motley Crue was probably my first passion because it was the first one I really had something that I felt connected to. But then, you know, that was in the time when Tommy Lee had the drum cage that went up in the air and flipped around. Mooned us. He mooned us. He was ass naked. It was just like, you know, but they were cool. Just the way you thought of them, just like the Netflix special. But it was
hard for us to get good music over there. Looking back, it was either all metal or all pop. There wasn't really much in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. Or you had to go to the Paladium to get something different.
Yeah.
Or the then you'd have to learn how to dance, and that wasn't really working.
or Nord-Est, right?
Right. Boom. All right. Well, let's shift gears over to that area of time and era. Like, all right, taking us back to like the Vicenza High School, and you know, I don't know, what do you guys remember about the Paladium and the Nord-Est, which to folks who don't know about it, these are like clubs, Italian clubs. The Paladium was definitely much more soul, R&B, hip hop, versus the Nord-Est was more poppy, preppy as far as I remember. And they were Italian style in a certain way. They're definitely different environments. But when was the first time you went? Like, what age? And what do you remember? I mean, if anything, or do you prefer your proms?
No, I remember once at Nord-Est, we must have been like maybe 16, 17, so super, young for.
Yeah, like sophomore high schoolish.
Yeah.
What's that?
Sophomore, junior year high school.
Yeah. No, and there was one. They had like they had the disco side, and there was like a ballroom dancing side, and we ended up in the ballroom dancing thing. And it's like, and I was with John Teska, and all of a sudden you're looking around, everybody's doing this whole thing, and so we had a nice little waltz together. Yeah.
Teska, speaking of John Teska, he was an instigator. He was very what Violent Femmes was one of his group categories.
Yeah, he was a theater guy. He brought a different element.
Yeah, I mean, he had us doing crazy things. Him and Johnny Kohut had us like doing all kinds of dance things. Like we were acting like we were models, or maybe it was Madonna Vogue or something. I don't know. And this was like, I'm thinking of the volleyball team, and we were like all just hanging out and doing poses, and I'll do this move. But all right, so that's Andrew's recollection of those clubbing days. How about you guys?
I remember going. I just remember feeling like really young, like going there, and there all these Italian guys and women were, probably in their early to mid 20s, which to us looked a lot older and definitely more sophisticated. I definitely felt out of my element in those places. For sure.
There wasn't a lot of cultural activity connections there.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. I just remember being uncomfortable. Like, this is not me. I don't know how to dance.
Yeah,
I'm not wearing the right clothes. I do remember, maybe it was Audio Sound where Snap, I will attack, and you don't want that.
Yes.
At one of those clubs, and I was there, so I remember that.
Yeah, that was over at like a Christmas break. I remember going to that with Kohut and my friend Chris Moran.
Big here in Vicenza.
Yes. No, oh God.
Or some of those teen club fiascos.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean, the lock-ins?
I think of the teen club and I think of LL Cool J, I Need Love.
I think the teen club, I think of When Doves Cry. Like Prince, that's all that was played for like a year. There was nothing else. Now, I learned how to play ping pong and pool while I was there.
All right.
Yeah.
Can still play, man. You want to go?
There you go. And who was JJ? She was leading the charge there, right?
Yes. Well, I stay in touch with Keith Painter, who was like the director above.
Okay.
Anyway, a lot of good connections there. That's the teen club. I mean, in a flash. Do you guys remember like the Booster Club? I'm just thinking of like the Booster Club kind of had a high point and then it kind of like wasn't around anymore. Like, I don't know, budget hits or something. Do you remember working at the Booster Club making Booster burgers?
The Booster Club sauce.
Yeah.
There's like ketchup and mayonnaise and mustard and something else all mixed together, and that was our special sauce.
I think it was the Cavolis that put it together, to be honest. I'm blaming people. But people still want to recreate it out there. You'll get a pop on one Vicenza person to another, and they're like, hey, how do you make that sauce? I'm like, I don't know, mustard, mayonnaise, beer. But yeah, but they were good back then, and people were really. It was a different time and era. I mean, you know, a really good time for what it's worth. But
they did, yeah. The Booster Club kind of disappeared towards the end of my tenure there, but I did work in those places as a summer hire gig afterwards, like Frank's, like these other spots that came in, and so I was manning those little shacks for one summer, which was interesting.
oh, summer hire. Summer hire,
$2.90 an hour, baby.
$2.90, and now society, it's like $15 is not enough. Not that it matters, you know, obviously.
But after 3 hours of work, I could buy a case of Heineken, right?
Right,
So
right.
There was that.
Where else did you work summer hire?
I was on the chain gang once. We had to chalk the softball fields. Me and Bobby Walsh. And
What about you?
I worked in the post office, I think for 1, maybe 2 years. And then I worked, like the BX had like a storage facility somewhere where they kept like all the refrigerators. You know, they had like the floor model, but if somebody wanted to buy one, you know, they would buy it, but they were all kept in a storage unit. So I was like moving heavy furniture. I did that for a year. One summer, and then I think my last year there I worked in the driver's testing, administering the written driver's tests and typing up, you know, the licenses for dependents and for GIs that were coming to Vicenza.
So no clout or influence or ask for Dad, can you step in here? I mean, can you pull some strings?
Dad hooked me up. I was the youngest, so maybe it wasn't summer hire. I think I worked at the Officers Club, but maybe that was more coming back during college. Running a little stand out by the pool and doing a little bartending. Big time bagging groceries.
Bagging groceries. I remember my mom telling us on a good Saturday, you could bring home more money as a bagger from the commissary than my mother made substitute teaching for the day. So yeah, bagging
groceries too.
That was cash, man. That was money.
I knew that, but I never was. I don't know. It was the insult of getting a dime from somebody. No, I don't.
You were a lifeguard, weren't you?
Yes. I kind of knew the path to do the right thing from the beginning.
You had the whistle thing down, right?
Yep. So, you know, the 15-minute hourly break was always a half hour or something like that, you know, and we were playing in the Officers Club pool. We would play some sort of game where you throw a ball across from one side to the other, catching it in the gutter ball, I think it was called. Oh, but yeah.
And the shark and minnow games, I remember those.
We'd rock the pool too. Remember rocking the pool? Everybody just piling it off the diving board, just can openers and whatever. Oh man, the pool brings back memories.
I remember there was because Mark Parkins was, he was a big stout guy, and we were, a couple of 3 years behind him maybe. So we were like, all of us were trying to yank him up from the bottom of the pool without success. He would just coast across.
The Parkins boys were amazing swimmers. Frickin' fish, absolute fish. Now, and Mark was incredible. Yeah. Anyway, Lenny and Mark are always in touch. They're steadfast, just like you guys. You have friends for life from Vicenza. Let's go there for a bit. I mean, besides each other, it doesn't really count. Connected. But you guys still have like an extended group of friends from Italy, and it's literally like a potential podcast just to see, like, these guys have been together for decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And some, because I've been seeing, even though Sam was a year older than me, he was in LA with me. He was in college with me in Boulder. So
Boulder, I loved.
Yeah, then we've done a shit ton of ski trips together since then. So I see that guy somewhat regularly.
Nice.
Then Bart, I've run into Bart in Bologna. I was over there. Then, you know, we saw him in Barcelona last summer.
Nice. It wasn't it wasn't planned. Like it's a small
that was
world.
complete accident. Yeah. I'm not a big time Facebooker, but my wife took a photo and he's like, holy shit, you're here. And I was like, you know, so yeah, we hooked up. And
yeah. So Bart, Sam, who else, guys?
When I go back to Vicenza, I still see Chris Bram. He's still there. Daniela Austin is still in Vicenza.
Yeah.
So I see them usually every time that I go back, which is maybe about once a year or maybe twice a year I'm back in Vicenza. Johnny Kohut, if he's around. I didn't know them when they were, because they're a few years older, but the Carrascosa sisters are I think one of them left, but you know, they're still in the area, so.
People will get together with you. You're like, hey, I'm in town. Who's going out for dinner? Boom. Everybody in down.
I usually let Daniela know or Chris Bram a couple weeks before I show up, and they'll put together a dinner and drinks, and yeah, we'll go out. Sometimes some teachers show up. I've seen Mr. Fosco. He's come out, and Miss Frigo's come out a couple times, and
he hasn't changed at all.
Mrs. Carter has come out a couple times, so it's kind of cool seeing some of the old teachers too.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'd like to find the way that we can all kind of see them, say hi, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's called the 50-year reunion, Sean.
That was a good one.
It was a good one, Sean.
All right. I missed it.
Yeah, no, and I got to throw Peter Ritchie's name into the ring of people. Like, I don't see him so much anymore, but for a while, business brought him to Seattle where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So I was seeing Peter, you know, at least 3-4 times a year for a while there. So
nice.
That was good.
Into him on and off. Also, when I have a layover in San Francisco, I've seen him a couple times. Lita Pelota came through a couple years ago with her family. They visited New York City, and we met them for lunch, you know, here locally. So,
yeah,
there's just, you know, there's a lot of people that I'm maybe not in touch with, you know, monthly or other than Facebook. But sometimes, you know, somebody will reach out and say, hey, I'm going to be in town, or I'm going to be, you know, traveling through New Jersey. Are you around? And if so, it's like, yeah, we'll make an effort and we'll get together.
No, and I get that. Okay. We won't have a cameo from Lisa, it seems, just so you know. Break your heart, I know.
It's all right. I was lucky. Yeah. I've seen people from Vicenza since I left Vicenza, because I went to Boulder, and then Andrew's out there, and Chris Rayburn from like elementary school days in Vicenza, and then Sam Adams shows up. Then I moved to St. Thomas, and it's me and Basil Nahas. Nice. And then Sean Stanton makes an appearance, and now the three of us you got 3 Vicenza people living in the Virgin Islands together. And then California, I'm still seeing Andrew. And then in New York, I've got Buzz. I ran into Jamie. I literally ran into Jamie Pallarito in Central Park, like both of us running.
Nice.
And him like stopping and going. So, I mean, that's pretty nuts.
Jimmy's who was in Matthew's class. I ran into Jimmy in Afghanistan, of all places.
Guppy?
He was over there with the Army, and I was over there on an Air Force layover, and we got together and had chow hall food and a cappuccino there on base in Afghanistan. So that was kind of cool. There's a picture of that somewhere floating around.
Yeah, no, I saw Jimmy Zacchino up here too, so.
Yeah, he'll be on.
His whole family. Brother was here.
He just checked into Vicenza. He was in Rome for the last year. Now he's in Vicenza, and we'll bring him on. But, you know, from a format perspective, it's like, can you imagine adding 3 or 4 more people? It's like, it's good for, it's not easy. It's just, you know, so. But
Massimo this whole time, Massimo Yoshida. So he's, you know, it never really mattered what year you graduated. You know, you have these connections. True. So I'm class of 90. I think Massimo's 82, 83. But we've hung tight all these years.
Where is he these days? What part?
In Dallas.
Okay, nice.
So literally spoke to him today. So it's just funny how it works out.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not in touch with anybody. I don't know anybody from. I've left Vicenza behind long ago. It's kind of a Jeopardy game, to be honest. It's like connections, and whatever. I kind of play ambassador to some extent, just to kind of. I realize my role isn't just to be me and remember my memories in that sense. There's a part of it which is a lot of people's favorite, best memories, or biggest strides in life started in Vicenza, or relate that to the sports activities or whatever activities. And, I just go with the flow to kind of keep it going. But it's funny, like Jeopardy, you can say a name. Go ahead. Throw a name out there. I'll tell you if I know where they're at. Go ahead. Let's try.
Alan McIntyre.
He's in Texas somewhere.
Yep.
Chip Flowers.
He is in Maine, but he works in Boston and Delaware.
There we go.
I could go deeper on some of these details, but I'll stay on the level. And because I was 2 for 2 there, we'll leave it at that. Unless Andrew, you got one?
Well, who should I go for? I don't know.
I don't know that person.
Like, how about Hank? Where's Hank?
Hank's in LA area, working for La Brea, world famous, well known.
You know where they are working wise as well.
Oh yeah. Hank used to share a lot of his amazing chef meals, either his creations or the things he was doing, which were just, off the charts. I forget the lady he works for. She's really well known. I mean, there's Netflix specials on her, connected to Italy. The breads that they make are phenomenal. And it's neat because I know, obviously I stay in contact with a lot of people, so it's kind of it's great to see where he's gone with this. Yeah, I looked to try to get him on here too.
Yeah, no, I bumped into Hank a bunch. Like, he was in LA with me for a little while, so we hung out. Tracy Brown was there. So
yeah. I think she's in Germany right now, but it depends, right? I don't know that the movie industry is moving anywhere right now in general.
Yeah, not in California.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's moving anywhere. We're staying right here at home.
Yeah, but it's neat. I see Samantha Brown.
Yeah.
New York, so I'm very fortunate to be in New York. But there's just random, no plans, someone's coming in 2 months. No, this is like, hey, tomorrow, you want to get together? Johnny's in town, and Jenny and Samantha, and boom, we put it together, and you have an amazing night.
Yeah.
Ricky Rosa, another one.
Yeah, I missed out on that reunion. I'm up in Boston, for those who don't know it, and it's like, it's only a 3-4 hour drive at best, and we love going to New York City. Of course, not right now, but yeah, I love those gatherings.
And Sean, I see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I walk into your Renaissance.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm like, where is he? Is he here? No. Okay, I'll call him on his phone. But it's hit or miss, but it's always the same. It's always it's just been, and guys, I don't know if you realize it, but a lot has gone on and passed and it's not a decade. It's not 1 year. It's not 1 decade. We're talking like 3 decades, 4 decades. I mean, I remember sitting at your house in Italy when the floppy disk was something. You guys had a computer. There was a game. You were taking it was maybe Dungeons and Dragons or something, taking it out, turning it over, putting it. Oh no, you got a double density. You got to cut the little side over here. You got to put it in the machine.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Waiting for the fucking game to start. And I mean, seriously, waiting. But that was cool.
Yeah, but kids today don't know the struggle.
That was like Kelly McKay in times, right? Because you guys would put in the program so you could get the best dice roll and just could have the computer figure out your highest. Just have it do 1,000 dice rolls so you can pick the highest roll for your attributes.
Yeah.
I never admit that I played Dungeons and Dragons. That's something you should never admit to.
Yeah, but that pretty much ended in what, 7th, 8th grade or something?
Yeah, that we were not diehard. I mean, I think we did it once or twice, but it wasn't.
Sure, JD.
Something that we were, yeah. Doing that.
Why didn't you just put it on an SSD flash drive, man? That shit would have worked real fast. All right, so let's kind of, before we go into Vicenza High School for what it's worth and all of the memories that are there, let's walk down the street a little bit there to the movie theater, and you know, what was it, $1.50 for a ticket, and then like $5 for like everything you could eat. But what would you eat? What would you order? Like popcorn, hot dog, whatever. And then what
like
movie?
35 cents or something. It was, you know, it was awesome.
I remember, Mom, we would make popcorn at home. Do you guys remember that?
in the brown bags.
The brown paper bags.
That's terrible.
Why?
60 cents.
I mean, if she was putting it into Microsoft stock, then okay. But otherwise,
yeah, we'd bring it from home. I remember that. Yeah, it was popcorn from home for us.
But then later on, there was, you know, straws and, you know, some bottles rolling around on the floor of the theater there too, right?
But I remember it's ruined every one of my movie experiences since, because like Sean said, everything was so dirt cheap that even like to this day, I still want to sit there. But it was holy. Popcorn $7.
Yeah, now it's like, okay, that's $50, but I already paid for the tickets. That was $30. But what the hell? It's just me, wife, and son. What? Okay, favorite movie. What do you remember? And like, what did you watch like 3 times in a row or more?
For me, it was Octopussy. James Bond Octopussy. I remember seeing it. And
I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about what that means.
I just wanted to say it.
It's on Netflix. I understand, you know. JD, what about you? What movie?
I remember looking forward to so much, waiting for Top Gun to come out. So,
well, of course, I should have guessed that. What was I thinking?
And even though the movie it's really more of a, you know, more of a musical and a love story than it is a real. It's not, you know, the flying in it wasn't really all that authentic. But
did you watch it in Aviano by chance too?
No, I only saw it in Vicenza.
All right. Andrew, what movie?
No, I remember Breakfast Club coming out, and that was a big, you know, that resonated through the whole school.
Mm-hmm. Breakfast Club, 16 Candles.
No, it was just, you know, I think the soundtrack was probably just as important as everything else.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And then
New Year's Day Off. I remember seeing that.
Yes.
Dude, that was awesome.
Have you started to watch these shows with your kids, and what do they think of them?
I have, and they've liked them a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Especially some of the ones, I think I watched the movie Airplane with my daughter, and she thought it was the funniest thing that she'd ever seen, which, you know, it is an awesome movie. But,
it is.
Yeah, it is kind of cool sharing some of those, you know, classics, you know, the John Hughes classics with your kids. And I think the reason that, you know, that they've stood the test of time is because they do resonate even with, you know, younger kids of all age, you know, the next generation.
Yeah. Same with my son. He just, you know, Ferris Bueller is probably one of the starters. Airplane recently.
Nice.
He's like, these are good. Like, he's waiting for me to tell him what to watch next, and I'm kind of like, that's a little too far ahead of your time. No, we'll wait a couple of years on that one. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Nah, we'll wait. Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, no, you had me at Fast Times, and I'm thinking Phoebe Cates right now. So. Yeah.
Too funny. Yeah. Well, I'd say, I mean, easily Ghostbusters. Just, you know, okay. Ghostbusters because, you know, it was just that creative and fun, and Bill Murray, and I'm glad to see that they're continuing on with sequels and all that. New one coming out. But I think, I mean, I watched it probably like 5 times in the same day. I was probably hanging out with James Cameron at the time, and it was just like, that's what we're gonna do on Saturday all day. And it's like, well, you know, what else?
That's one guy that. Where's James Cameron at? Do you have any? Like, I saw him. I went to Hawaii. This is friggin' late '90s, maybe. and I hooked up with him then, but I haven't seen him since.
I don't think he's ever popped up on Facebook. And no, I don't think I've heard. There's one more person out there that I mean, I appreciate that one aspect of Facebook for what it's worth is the algorithm does a pretty good job of bringing people back into your feed of suggestions. Now, I won't say the rest of the social media aspect has been any good for most of us, but, I think, I can tell you this whole thing has been really good for people. My brother was telling me that a lot of people reached out and said they really appreciate it, the connections they remember about Vicenza, the memories, all the stuff we had in common. But what I meant by the Facebook reference was that there have been people that have shown up, and I've just been so glad to see them. Like Lisa Rolick a couple of years ago. It was just like, where have you been? And it's been so good to catch up and reconnect and kindle the friendship and stuff. And there's still a couple people out there that I haven't seen. And, I remember looking at some people and like, I don't even recognize you. And it's like, oh, that's who you are. Oh yeah. Then that pocket of memories comes open and you're able to kind of go there, but not that that's it for everybody, but it's only been a few decades. So yeah, Ghostbusters. The thing I found interesting was Star Wars. Absolutely passionately loved it, of course. But remember that it took like 20 years before you got a remake.
Yeah.
Well,
And then now it's like every other year you get a new one. And I'm like, it's a little too much, guys. Slow it down. You're missing the core values of. The Mandalorian, I think, has done a great job of returning to the original kind of script. When I say original script, I don't mean, oh, Luke Skywalker's back. I just mean it feels like I'm back watching something fresh. So anyway. So boys.
Yeah, no, but to get we were way behind with the movies, as I'm sure you remember. So when we used to go to Garmisch to go skiing, they had a German theater that would show American movies, and there was only maybe a month behind versus the 6 months to a year that we were. So we would be up there checking out like Terminator or something, that was.
I remember watching up there. Yeah, no, it was excellent.
You remember
go to the Kino.
How critical was it for you to stop by McDonald's on your way through?
We would reheat those Big Macs in the oven 5 hours later and try to convince us that it was the most amazing thing.
And that's what you would tell everybody at school. I mean, I had a Big Mac. I had 3 Big Macs, and it was like...
that was before Burger King hit post. There was no other. It was either Burgies or go up to freaking Germany and get yourself a real Big Mac.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Burgies. I don't think I ever went there. No, but then for a second, when we went down to, because there was a McDonald's in Rome, right? The first one. There was one in Germany. Then I think
it's still there.
Just opened up in Rome. So when we were in Rome, be it on a sports outing or a family trip or whatever, that was a stop.
Was the Bergie's place? Was that the place across from Seps? Was it across from September?
Johnny's or something, yeah.
Yeah, or John, yeah. Across the street.
Seps, no longer exists, right? It's a temp agency.
It's not there anymore. I walk by when I'm in Vicenza. Sometimes I get up in the morning after my coffee. I just walk around for like an hour and try to find the old places. Vesuvio's is still there. And then what was the name? Was it the Cab that was kind of behind the Basilica there? That was like downstairs.
Piano bar.
Those places aren't there anymore either.
I think is Big Ben's.
Big Ben's is there still, right?
Oh my God, that brings back memories.
In the House of 100, San Gaetano, I think.
I don't know. That's out of town a ways. I don't know.
I remember going to Big Ben's and just ruining the entire ambiance by all these 9th graders and 10th grade. There was a couple spots. We would just go in there and just throw on Alice Cooper. It's terrible. I feel bad.
Oh, man.
Alza la volume dietro.
Let's see. Let's go here.
You're talking
take notes where, you know,
I've got notes over here. It's just like thoughts.
You got me cold turkey.
I got you for more than half an hour, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, Italian food. Like, okay, coming to the States, I'm like, where's the taste? I mean, not everything, right? But like Italian food, it was such a weird transition. Actually, Lisa Rolick was making the same commentary on the other podcast, but you should watch that. Subscribe here. No, anyway,
Already watched it.
Yeah, I know, twice.
Hey, Lisa.
She should join. Now, so favorite dish, like, or were there many? What was your thing? What would you go to? Like,
I had the Diavola. That was my
yes. Yeah, that was awesome.
No, but then one thing real quick, coming back stateside, I remember the first time, you know, I ordered something and they go, super salad? And I'm like, yep. I had to stay. They were talking soup or salad, but I just, you know, we weren't used to that stuff.
I was overwhelmed by the menus. I'm like, McDonald's extra value meals, there was like 6 of them. I'm like, so which one is the better value? And okay, save 5 cents for that, but you don't get I don't know. And my friends were like, American college friends, they're like, just order something. And I'm like, but I don't understand. But the quality was just not there. And I mean, when I go back, and I was back only a couple of years ago with my wife, you know, we did a tour, I did a lot of posting on that stuff, and man, was the Wi-Fi suck over there to try to share all the content I was getting, to just try to give people something to watch and remember and all that. But as soon as I, you know, like had that first bite of like a prosciutto pizza, it was like, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yep.
He just texted me one like 2 weeks ago. He's texted me what he's eating in Milan. I'm like,
I had a prosciutto salami picante. You know,
Yes.
That was my pizza. That I just had one a week ago.
I would do that and add roasted garlic.
That'd be good too. Maybe I'll think about that. But as far as non-pizza, I always like to get the Biggoli with ragu sauce, you know, the thick spaghetti, because that's really a northern Italian thing. You really can't find that anywhere else in Italy, you know, let alone the rest of the world.
Samantha Bram is watching going, absolutely. That's the right. You said it.
Ragu from Monte Grande or what was the other one?
Where else did we go? Was Monte Grande, then El Greco's, wasn't that it?
El Greco's, yeah, that's it. With the duck sauce, yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tortellini con pane is another one that, you know.
Tortellini con carne. Not this American just filled with cheese. I want the meat. I'm like, I want the tortellini with meat in it. That's it.
And I want a good calzone, not a calzone, not something that's been sitting on the shelf for 4 hours and you're going to reheat it.
Yeah, Pizzones. That was the Domino's one. But yeah. I mean, pizza just seems to be the staple. I mean, okay.
Nice toast. Listen, the toast.
Yeah,
come on.
A toast and a cappuccino at an autostrada rest stop. Like if you tell your American friends that, hey, we're going to go to this gas station and the cappuccino is going to be awesome. And you're going to get this panini and this thing, just call it a toast with ham and cheese. And it's going to be like great. And they're like, at a gas station? I'm like, yeah. And
I know.
It was outstanding.
Yes.
Italians don't put up with bad cappuccino, even at a gas station rest stop.
I read something a long time ago about that. Like if everybody stood for a specific standard of quality of food, the quality would rise to that standard, because people wouldn't buy the rest of the crap food that exists. Now, I don't imagine famine and starvation, but it's true in some country cultures, that's where they're at. But more importantly, you know, I love that factor about Italians, that you just don't mess with the Italian diet, and you know, when you go, you're going to get what you wanted. And it's so good.
It is.
Oh man, good stuff. Good Italian food. And then the gelato. Come on, none of us hit gelato here.
Yeah.
What were your flavors?
I was fragola limone.
No, for sure.
And the hazelnut was always good too.
Bacio?
Yeah, I can't go wrong with the baccio and a little.
Stracciatella was all right. Then there was some minty thing that was all right. I forgot.
Pistachio?
Not pistachio, but
Like dolce di leche, was that? That was another good one, like a caramel kind of deal.
Yeah, and Zabaione. Oh, man. Well,
Garibaldi's was our spot. You know, now it's all hoity-toity. I don't think that walk-up window is there anymore.
No, it's there, but it's not built the way we remember it. It's not loaded with trays of flavors. It's like
you can't order from the street. You have to go in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you guys a funny story. So when we went back, we stayed in Rome, which, by the way, Rome was just so much more amazing, and I have a great story in there. I'll share it when I talk with Bryan Jansing, because he's doing like a microbrew tour kind of thing down in Rome. Yeah, here's the funny, right? First of all, you remember I barely drank when I was in Vicenza. I was Mr. Athlete and all that stuff, but I never thought of it this way. And maybe it was because I was only introduced to generic Italian beers, which it's like Americans make better beers. Now, obviously I went to college in Munich, Germany, which made even better beers. But
you didn't like the Nastro Azzurro?
Well, yeah, that's fine. It was more like the Adelscott, which was like a shot of rum in it or something. But no, here was the thing that hit me. So first of all, I was just like, yeah, okay, we'll hang out. We'll go to a beer place, get some food. And when I had that first Italian micro brew beer, it was like, how stupid of me. Their beer is as good as their food.
Did you do that with Bryan, or was this on a separate thing that you just discovered it on your own, or were you with Bryan when you did
Bryan was our host. He's wonderful, you know, and I mean, I'll plug it. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. You're missing out if you're in Rome and you don't get a part of this, because the connections he has, his published book for what it's worth, you know, and just his connections to all the beer places. Not that we didn't go, you know, bar hopping for what it was worth. We went to a couple of places and we were definitely hooked up. But those first couple of beers, it was just like, wait a second, this is really good.
What were they? IPA or Pilsner kind of thing?
I'm gonna save that for the conversation with Bryan, because he'll tell us the truth. I don't remember. I'm not an IPA guy to begin with.
This is how I remember Bryan Jansing. I think he's carrying a six-pack. Is it that way? That way? Yeah, he's carrying a six-pack Heineken coming to my house. So there you are, Bryan Jansing. It's a great shirt, by the way.
Yeah, so he stays true to the craft and everything, but again, man, it was such a silly non-connection to go, well, Italian food's really amazing. Guess what? Their micro beer is good. Now, I don't know if it'll ever make it to the States because of whatever rules, regulations, and other stuff. But if you have to come to Italy, twist my arm, that you got to get into that, because it's on the par with the food. And I couldn't say more. It's worth talking about it.
Was it all, I guess you'll talk to him about it, but real quick, was there any like up north, or was it all down in Rome?
It's everywhere, but I don't know how to describe or answer the question better. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's everywhere. I know there's one in Milan. This is another kind of quick story. So I'm in Hong Kong at a local microbrewery place in Hong Kong, and I hear
Comiso?
What's that? No. Yeah, right outside of Comisano. I'm in Hong Kong, and I hear this couple behind me speaking Italian, and I start speaking Italian. I asked them where they were from, and they were from Milan, and they were opening an Italian craft beer bar in Hong Kong. And I said, hey, I know a guy that I went to high school with that wrote a book about Italian craft beer, and they'd heard of the book. So it was kind of cool. So I have their card, and you know, I've been meaning to get back and check them out when I'm in Milan. But whenever I'm in Milan, I go to Vicenza. So
well, we'll probably have to connect you with them and just share the card. They'll be like, oh, it's Jimmy Pesto. All right, you know. Anyway, yeah. So you know, I mean, you're right. Toast on an autostrada, autogrill. Yeah, crazy. You know, pasta, bolognese. You know, just Italian food is just phenomenal, and I don't think I eat as much when I'm over there because it's just so good that I'm just so happy. I don't even notice that I'm like.
And you're walking your ass off, maybe too, right?
Yeah.
So then
You're walking, and the portions. You notice that. That's one thing that I noticed coming from the States and even from other countries. Like in Germany, you get a schnitzel, it's hanging off the plate, and it comes with a salad and French fries. The portions are pretty large. They're substantial. And the portions in the U.S. are out of control at most restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Italy, the portions are definitely, they're right size. It's probably what, a normal human should eat.
Yeah.
But it's not, you get a bowl of pasta, it's, it's like a cereal bowl. It's not a giant,
Yeah. Well,
I definitely notice that when I come back or go back to Italy, the portions are smaller.
I have a funny joke or story on that one. Similar point. Italians coming to the States and eating pizza, to your point about portions, I believe, and I'll be corrected by others, but you're used to what's on your plate is your portion kind of thing, or what you see delivered is yours, and that's what you eat. So somebody ordered from a regular pizza franchise in the States and got like a family size. So you're talking, out there, like I don't know, enough to feed an army. And, the way the story's told, it's like this, petite young lady, polite and everything. She looks at the pizza and she's like, all right. She starts to eat it like it's hers, like the whole thing, right? She's like, pulling it closer in and just starts going. And the people she's with are like, that's pretty cool. Anyway, whether it's a true story or not, it just reminds me of, to your point, portion control ain't going nowhere. All right.
knife and fork. You need the knife and fork in Italy, right?
Yeah.
As good as all this food is, what about the shitty quality of food coming out of the food mall?
Food mall.
You guys remember what they would serve? I mean, I know it was dirt cheap, but come on.
It
was like microwave specials.
What are you talking about over in the food?
The snack bar closed, right? And then they turned into the food mall later on, and it was, it was dark. It was terrible. When we spent way too much time in there.
Because the beers, you could get the beers were $1. It was like $1 for a mug of Heineken.
And if you took the glass, it was cheaper.
I had those Heineken glasses for decades.
Andrew still has
decades. You still have some?
Yeah, I do.
Attaboy.
No, but that's the problem. Like nobody had a house. Like we were all over there living with mom and dad, right? So if you wanted to hang out during daylight hours, you kind of had to go somewhere, and the food mall happened to be that place.
I remember going there one time when we were all back from college, and we met up at like noon or something, and we've been drinking for like 3 hours and pounding beers, and then somebody says, "Hey, let's go visit some of the teachers at the school." And I remember walking into Miss Beligio's classroom, with 5 or 6 of us that have been drinking for 3 hours, and as soon as we walked in, she goes, "You guys have been drinking." She totally busted. It's coming out of our pores.
She was the best. She was awesome.
You want to expand on that, Sean?
I was definitely a Beligio pet.
She married another FedEx pilot. I've not met her husband, but he flies for FedEx also.
I remember when she was proposed by one of the Chicago Bears when they were doing that tour.
Yeah.
She had the Toyota Supra, which was awesome.
Yeah, I remember that car.
And she could type really well.
Oh man, that takes me to a story. I don't remember it exactly, but I remember.
You might want to keep this one to yourself, Sean.
Yeah. No, I'll leave it at that. It sounds like I'm doing great things here.
Typing, that was I think the most valuable class that I took in my entire VHS career. And that was on an IBM Selectric too. That wasn't on a computer keyboard, but who knew what was coming, right? But that ability to type is huge.
Yeah.
Come on,
the word processor, yeah. Man. So who's this?
This is Sophie.
Hi, Sophie.
Making a racket.
Hi, Sophie. So let me think here, guys. I know we've covered a lot of topics. I know we've been on for a while, and it's been good to catch up on.
But you're doing okay, Shawnee. Like the whole, this whole Joe Rogan thing, it's no easy task, is it?
I'm gonna beat his ass. One pinky, Italy, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's funny you guys say Joe Rogan. The only one I really follow is Howard Stern. I mean, just his interviews in particular. I just enjoy, what he pulls off. But okay, here's a good one. Remember, what comes to mind when you think of what's your best memory of Vicenza? Like just anyone. I know there's a bunch, but what comes to mind?
I think ski trips, going up into the mountains as kids, whether it was Araba, whether it was Madonna di Campiglio, whether it was Asiago, Monte Bondone, not necessarily one crew of people or another, just the idea that we would leave base and it was affordable and somehow we'd go up there, whether it was a bus or someone's parents were driving, and just like it wasn't a thing that we were skiing in these incredible areas, and it was just one big happy crew, and the pieces were interchangeable. We could be there sometimes, you would be there. It didn't matter. It was always just a good time.
Yeah.
I'll second that one. That was good. All the sports trips were also awesome. That's probably half the reason why I ran cross country. Soccer I liked, but cross country was.
Yeah, cross country was hard. That was just running. No, you remember Hakeem taking us to Monteberico, like running, and he would use the analogy of holding like popsicles or something. Stay light and flexible or something, and it was like, okay, sure. And it was Molly Solomon and Paul Ratcliffe that were just like, they were going to win. So I'll just bring up the rear.
Yeah.
So that's Andrew's best. You thinking of the sports trips? Anyone in particular?
I couldn't tell you.
All right. I know it's top secret. You don't want to share. That's fine.
No, but like this, I think I was closer with the soccer world more so than with the cross country crew, but they were all cool. Like whether it was a field trip for, photography or going to, wherever with whomever, it was always good times.
Yep. Turbo Lover, Judas Priest. That's all we listened to. That was our get the game on kill mode. We're gonna get them.
Yeah.
What about you, Matthew? What was what's the best memory?
Oh, I was doing the ski trips. But
you
also
did.
all those sports trips were great, and sitting in the back of the bus, and Hakeem sleeping on air mattresses and gyms, and
Telling you to get up at 5 a.m. to eat your breakfast so you don't hurl.
You had to eat your breakfast early.
And alza la volume indietro, telling the bus driver we'd put on our shitty metal, give him fucking heavy metal, and have him.
Yeah, I think the best parts for me were the Friday night after the games, before the next day's events, just hanging out in the other schools' gyms and just going crazy. And then, like the sponsors, admins, or whatever, the coaches, you can't control like 40 kids.
Right, and it was, I'm sure they wanted some downtime too, so they were probably like, hey, just let us do our thing. But yeah, I that was definitely probably the highlight, being able to travel, because in the States they don't do that. You play the neighboring town and you go back home and you sleep in your own bed. You don't get on a bus and drive
that was
9-10 hours.
That was every other weekend, right? I mean, you'd have a home meet, and then the next week you're in Milan or Aviano or Rome. That's crazy.
How many weeks do you recall that you actually went to school all day, Monday through Friday? Like, I maybe 2.
Yeah.
We're on a field trip. You were on a sports trip. You were on a band trip. You were always doing something. The excuse was, there's so many things you have to see. You won't ever see this again when you come back. and all that stuff. But yeah, we were always on the go.
I wonder if that's changed. I wonder in the post 9/11 world, if with security concerns, if it's just still wide open where you did field trips basically all the time, and not just security, but budgets. I mean, to rent a bus like that for a day, I mean, we had some pretty awesome opportunities that we just took for granted. It had always been like that, right? This is what you did. This is how you went to school in Europe. So,
yeah.
That includes graduating in the teatro, you know?
Oh, yeah. You know, they don't do that anymore, right?
I figured, yeah.
Yeah. Like they stopped that like 10 years ago or something like that. Yeah, I went and I was just like, you know, I mean, it was kind of cute when I went back with my wife and we're walking into the teatro, you know, the kind of the transition, and my wife is doing this, giving me a look like, right, this is where you graduated, right, you know, and it was just, and then you walk into the actual amphitheater and it was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what you got for your high school? Are you serious? She went to like one of the typical American schools. There's like, 500 people in your graduating class, or 1,000 or something.
They do it out on the football stadium.
But you don't know any, we didn't know any better.
Yeah, you don't.
That's what we thought it was, right? Especially for us lifers that were over there, like me and you. We were rotated in and out. We didn't have anything to compare or contrast. That was like, this is what you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity to play all the different sports. I mean, it did a lot confidence-wise, building and everything. I mean, my son's at an age where he's going into high school, freshman, and his class is like 500 kids, and we're talking about, I wanted him to play basketball on the team. I'm like, of course, go out for the team, play hard. That's it. I mean, I'll be there for you. We'll coach, we'll work together and all that stuff. But he thought he was letting me down, and I'm like, no. And I'm like, literally there's like a kid who can dunk in the 8th grade. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I guess we won't be going out this year, but you might be growing. You might grow a couple feet, I mean, and he looks like a twin, and he's, height wise, he's almost matched up to me. But I'm like, I'd love him to get the chance to play a sport, to get that, the social camaraderie, all that comes out of that.
And it's all that. And let's be real. Most of the people that played in Vicenza, with maybe the exception of Teddy Spittle, who, none of us probably were even good enough to make, a Division I college team. But it really wasn't about being a superstar athlete or trying to make it to the NFL or the NBA. It was like you said, it was more about the camaraderie. It was more about the experience of traveling, of being with a group, of team building, of, getting into, I don't know, disagreements or fights with teammates, and then working it out and moving on. And, I like you said, it's unfortunate that probably in a really big school, a lot of people will be deprived of that opportunity because it is so competitive now.
Yeah, I mean, there's club sports and all that can play and all that stuff, and that's great, and that works. But it's just such a weird transition. It's like, okay, so you're in the top, 30 or so, but the cut is at like 11. So it's like, well, I don't know that things will change.
Okay.
Well, we had small numbers though. We were like 7 through 12 was only like what, 400 kids maybe. So
yeah, we had like a graduating class of like 50. Like that's it.
It was almost expected, right? I mean, it was just taken for granted. Like, yeah, you're gonna do a fall sport, you're gonna do a winter one, and you're gonna do a spring one.
I knew who my competition was. I knew who my competitors on the other teams were, who they were going to be for the next year. I knew what I had to plan out and prepare in order to compete. So for me, like high school was like this mad dash, sports athletic side wise, which I definitely emphasize more in that time and era, not now.
Why do you say that, Sean?
Just wanted to point it out. I'm still out there trying to win. Yeah, I mean, for me, like graduating, I like hit a wall. Like I didn't know, like I loved my friends that were out there planning, taking your kids at freshman year, taking them to see colleges, but that seemed a little early. But I'm like, like some people really planned about where they're going to go. And I didn't understand any of that to begin with. I mean, I got that big Princeton review book that was like this big, 500,000 pages, before you had a computer that you could do the filter searches. I'm like, okay, this looks like a good school. It has a pool. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at or why.
I picked my university out of a book, basically.
To fly, right?
I was a finance major, but I went to Lehigh University on a Air Force ROTC scholarship. So, I wanted to look at schools in the Northeast that, had an ROTC program, and I wanted a smaller school with a good, faculty to student ratio, which I would not do again. If I had to do it all over again, I'd go to a big state school with a good football team.
Oh, good idea. Good point. Have fun, right?
Yeah. Because whenever I went out to visit these two jokers,
Boulder football.
They were always not only.
We were national champs, in '91 or something.
But you guys were having quite a bit more fun than I was at Lehigh.
Oh yeah, I mean Boulder alone by what it was in nature, and then the football team was ridiculously good. Who and rest his soul, who was that guy, the running back that?
Salam?
Yeah,
Sean Salam was
the enemy.
Yeah.
Oh, they got some good ones.
Yeah. It's a funny story. Do you remember I think it was Boulder, what is it, the Buffaloes?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know this? You won, I was living out there, and you guys won a game. It was a Hail Mary pass.
That was against Michigan.
So Michael Westbrook over Michigan.
Let me share a funny story. So
1994, excuse me.
Yeah, the temperature was 78 degrees. The altitude climate was
McCartney.
So here's a funny. That moment helped me feel acclimated to living in Colorado for some reason. It was just a great momentous occasion, and I was living there, so I'm like, I feel connected. Which, by the way, I did see Pink Floyd at the
Red Rocks
Stadium, which was awesome. But here's the funny story. I ended up going from Boulder to Detroit, Michigan to go to work in advertising for a year and a half stint or so. Different podcast. My landlord, I was renting a room. I was making nothing. He was a band member for Go Blue. I had never seen the kind of culture folklore that you see at a Go Blue, like, the level of, it's same thing in Boulder for what it's worth. But so, mind you, I don't remember who threw the Hail Mary pass to who or whatever, and I had no sense of it. But so this guy takes me out there because it's culture and folklore out there. And so we go to Ann Arbor, which I should, and back, in thinking about, that's where I should have moved to and lived, because that would have been a lot more fun. But instead, I was over in Harper Woods, over near Grosse Pointe and stuff, which was definitely not where I should have been living, but what did I know? Anyway, so this guy in his Mustang, everything's Ford out there, right? I was driving a Honda Accord. He's got like special access passes. So we get through like special privilege, band camp stuff. I'm hanging out with the band, and they're all like, there's alumni, there's the actual team, and they're all tight knit, and they're drinking the Kool-Aid like nobody's business. And in the back of my mind, I remember this game that there was this team that Buffalo played against that threw a Hail Mary pass. And I was trying to kind of connect with the team, with this new group of people. And as I'm sharing that story, it's as if I was like stabbing their heart.
Yeah. Don't do that, Sean.
I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, and they threw a Hail Mary pass and they won. It was the greatest. You couldn't help but see their faces melting. And I didn't do it on purpose. It was just,
Yeah, replay during this pandemic. ESPN's playing whatever they had, and they did that game, and they had Cordell Stewart, and they had the running back who I forget right now from Michigan, and he still says to this day that game just still hurts him to the core. It was good stuff.
That coach, Neuheisel, right? Was it Neuheisel?
No, it was Paul McCartney, and it was probably still Bo Schembechler or whatever for Michigan.
The promise keeper.
Nice. The skiing out there, by the way, in Colorado. Speaking of skiing in Italy, forget that. Skiing in Colorado, oh my God.
It was good.
They did not want to share that with Olympic sports or with anybody. They're just like, this is too good to share. Skiing was phenomenal out there, guys. I just love it. You could fall in the snow, dust it off, and keep going for miles, forever. You take 2 lifts, and you're skiing for hours.
True, but the skiing experience, though, in Italy, I think is very difficult to duplicate with the little glue vine shacks halfway down the mountain where you walk in.
Refugios and little,
guy with a wood burning stove, and you take your gloves off and you warm up and you have a glue vine and you keep skiing. So it was a little bit more mellow, but you're right. In terms of like vertical and wide open terrain and the quality of the snow, Colorado wins. But in terms of the overall experience, where you go and you enjoy your day and you kind of get a nice meal at lunch and I'll take Italy.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Like the aromas of the food, the vegetable soup, even though I would never eat vegetable soup to begin with, but it just smelled so good. I had to have it. Or you could ski from one country to another, like just go over this side and you're over there and you're in.
That's when you're ordering your food. You're like, ein Kartoffel mit Ketchup. You're combining 3 languages all at once,
And they're used to it. They're used to it.
Yeah, they speak all 3.
Yeah. So I know we've been going for a while, guys, probably breaking records here. I think we can, for an easy start, this is a good place for us to kind of talk about cutting off for all it's worth. But I do want to tell you, I know we skipped over a few topics, of course. And more importantly, I know we've lost some wonderful people in these decades naturally and for all that stuff. And I know I haven't had a chance to say sorry about the loss of your dad. And, to you, JD or Andrew, Matthew and I see each other enough to know we're all on the same page.
Who's Matthew?
I don't know. The other guy right there in the middle of the 2 of you.
Right on, Shano. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's nice chatting with you.
Yeah, guys. We'll definitely do it again, and hopefully, I'm going to break this up into pieces.
We'll
see which topic people really want to watch and listen to, and I think this is a good start to remembering the past.
But it was good what you said. There were some good pillars that we lost, with Peter's father, Maurice's father, Mr. Ritchie, and your dad, and
Mr. Zabork.
And Mr. Draculich and my dad. I mean, these guys seem like larger than life. I mean, I know it was my dad, but I look at your dad as seeing, these guys impacted a lot of people.
Yeah. Throw Mr. Pellerito in there. And again, look, for the teachers that are watching this, that did a lot for us over the years, their personalities, they're expatriates who knew to stay in Europe because it was a better place to live, quality of life. It's good to generically look. I'll just imagine like Sooner Martin's going to see this, who just recently joined Facebook. Yes. Who knows who's going to be the first teacher to watch this? Is it Sai Hakim? Is it?
Well, see, I still remember Sooner Martin's. What do you call a bathroom in on high altitude? A high pot in use. Yeah, Mr. Martin, still remembering your jokes from 30 years ago, 35 years ago.
I remember. I mean, I remember 2 things off the top of my head that of your father that easily stick out very quickly. When I got busted and I was skipping class and then I'll tell you that story. I'm sitting in the cafeteria. I'm skipping my dad's class, by the way, because I'm hungry and I'm eating a Danish and a whatever, and I'm reading the paper because I'm looking at the sports section only. And your dad comes into the cafeteria looking around. He's got the glasses down to here. He's like, "Okay, is the Verona bus in yet?" And I'm like, "Nope, they're not in yet." "What are you doing here, Sean?" And I'm like, skipping class, I guess. He's like, "Come with me." And he's like, "What class are you skipping?" "My dad's." He's like, "All right, stay in my office." And he goes down and grabs my dad, and they're like, "Okay." It was like a Thursday, and there's a sports whatever for that weekend. And it was like this, we're brokering a deal of some kind. And, it's like, "Okay, so you're suspended for today, and then you're back tomorrow so you can play the sports." "Okay, all right, good. All right, deal. Go, get out of here." So that was one of the good ones. We'll have to. we'll have to carry one with Brazil. When we did like a Vicenza alumni comeback, and we stood in the library with Miss Nemi and such, and we let the high schoolers ask us questions about college. You had some incredibly funny remarks out there. Saga Newland had some hysterical ones. Bazil opened up saying, you'd say hi at Shaw Dempsey, Plymouth State College, but Bazil's like, Bazil Nahas, Harvard University, and
I remember before we cut this off, Dad's the principal, senior trip, Rimini, pulling up to Vicenza train station. And like, this is Mr. Goldstein, right? The principal, all the seniors. And he's opening up the trunk and handing me a case of, it's wine coolers. All the students are like, oh my God.
Was this an Alfa Romeo? Was this one of the Alfa Romeos?
The old late model Alfa Romeo. And they're just like, and he's all like, I'm just Skip's father at this point. But I always remember that, like, damn, that's pretty cool, because these guys are flipping out. That's the principal.
Yeah.
I wasn't 18.
Oh, man. The memories go deep, but I know we've been going for a while, guys, so thank you so much for your time. And again, we'll probably do this again some other way, which way, we'll just figure it out.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See you later. Ciao.
Bye, Fratelli.